All right, man. We are live. First episode of the CROWNEDCAST. What's going on, man? Joseph Honeysett.
Yep, Joel Engulu. We're the founders of Crown, and so we're here to talk about what God is doing and how we can talk about 2025.
2025, big year, and just excited. This is our brand story episode. Much like most brands or businesses or personal brands, they start with their story. We felt like it was important to get our message outside of our personal events. We share that all the time, but we have a bigger vision than just having our local events. We definitely want to touch lives all across the world, and I truly believe this is a great opportunity for us to do this, man. So really, I'll go ahead and get started in talking about how Crown became and the idea behind it, and obviously Crown is a Christian global community for business owners, entrepreneurs, brands, creatives. If you're not an entrepreneur, I say that our perspiration will turn into your inspiration, to where you actually understand how entrepreneurship creates freedom and is going to allow you to be who God intended you to be, right? We're not meant to have, these quote unquote chains on us that prevent us from actually, living the life that God has a plan for us. So, you and I, we got together and we were just talking about doing something for God and creating a community, and looked at how other communities all across the world, different religions, races, ethnicities, do business well. The Asian community is does business very well with each other, and the Jewish community does business well together.
Exactly.
It takes 20 days for a dollar to leave their community, and my whole mindset was, well, why are Christians not doing that? Why are Christian business owners not supporting other Christian business owners, and not even business owners supporting business owners? Why are people of the same faith not supporting the people that are in God's community, right?
Man, that's a point for me right there, man. Because my whole purpose in life, man, I feel like since I was a kid, it was like combine the body of Christ. Like I hate denominations. I mean, we have to have that, unfortunately, but I feel like we all should be one. And so the Christian ministry, church, but now we're talking about business owners. Like, why can't we just combine and like send each other referrals? Let's grow together as a community. Bro, you mentioned the Jewish community. That's where it started for me, man. I started getting into like a lot of the Hebrew and Messianic stuff. So I started hearing about how the Jewish people live, and like how you said that the dollar doesn't leave after 20 days, man. The cool I heard too was like, man, every millionaire, there's 5 other millionaire Jews. So if there's one millionaire in a group, the rest of the group is going to become millionaires within time. But their whole purpose is to make each other grow. And so it's like, man, and then you see why they're successful and why they're thriving. The Christian body, man, it's I heard that there's a GDP that if the Christian body around the world just came together as one, will be pretty much, I think, the 3rd or 4th largest economic like powerhouse in the whole world. I'm talking over Google. It's pretty much, man. I don't know exact the number, but it's pretty much if the Christian community as a whole, like the whole body around the world, came together, our GDP, like how much money we produce, how much money goes out, will be like the 3rd or 4th largest like economic powerhouse in the world. And so it's like that's over Google, over Apple. I forgot the 2 that were above that, but it's like the whole purpose is like the whole point is why are we not doing this? And we can be God can really reign on the earth. We can really do a lot of kingdom things, whether in business or ministry or nonprofit. We can all do it together if we just came together, understand that we need each other. And so I love creating tools, creating events, creating opportunities for people to meet and gather, and then from there, like great relationships. You got to create relationships first before you do anything else. And so yeah, man, that's kind of why I'm real passionate about that, man, because it really irks me when I see too many people divided.
I think it's like having awareness that yes, we are different and our differences are great, right? But that shouldn't be a reason why we separate ourselves from others, right? Like even with Crown, it's a Christian community, but if you're not a Christian, we also welcome you, right?
Yeah,
because we believe, hey, we're the light of the world. You get around us, you're going to start to ask, hey, why are you different? Why do you have so much peace about yourself? Right? It's so funny. It's so funny, bro, because we're on this earth, right? As Christians, we believe we're not on this earth forever, right? We're going to die and we're going to go and live in eternity. But so much of us live for, the present moment, or we live for this earth. But if we're Christians, believers in Christ, why are we not overtaking the world with our beliefs, our influences? Because of, we believe, hey, you live by what God calls us to live by, your life will be better, right? And so with what you just said about, the third potential largest GDP in the whole entire world, if the Christian community came together, why are we not doing that, right? And that is the heart of Crown. That's what we want to strive for. That's what we want to get with, and Crown is new, but that's really the whole vision behind it, is uniting Christian business owners of all levels, beginner to billionaire, right? Yep. Together to create a community to put each other on. And there's nothing like that. And we're excited to be the forefront of that. We're just getting started.
Nah, you hit on the head, man. It's pretty much that, man. The body has to come together. We all have different parts, but everyone knows that, everyone believes that, but it's hard to put it in practical ways because some people don't even know how. And so Crown, if we can come up with like different vehicles, different ways that we put people together, that's pretty much our goal. It's not just to make, obviously we're going to make money, you're going to be successful, but the goal first is to build that relationship, build that family, because that person on that corner might need exactly what you need. And they've been traveling the states, they've been looking at the other states, but that person they needed was around the corner. But they didn't know because they didn't build that relationship. They didn't even know each other existed. So I really just want us to have be that forefront where people understand this is a safe space. Hey, come in, whether you're starting up or advanced, but you're going to meet somebody. And hopefully if you're advanced, you can mentor somebody and teach somebody. So just that relationship, creating that family is like the goal.
Absolutely. We all have something to offer in some form or fashion. Like you said, you're going to make money. That's what business is, right? But it's not, you make money by no addition, right? You're adding value to whoever is going to pay for whatever you need. But it's so funny, man, because, on social media, you hear all the time, like, man, I want to go get the bag. And I early on into entrepreneurship, I used to like, man, I wish I knew all these different types of people that could help me. And I would get mad at the fact that I didn't have that available, because your net worth is related to your network. And so that was also a part of why Crown is established. It's like, imagine if you started as an entrepreneur, joined a community, and you had access to all these different resources, people that could ultimately help you and change your business from zero to whatever your goal is in just a handful of months, right? Like, think about how powerful that is, right? But that's not like that in the world. It's
dog eat dog eat world, man.
Dog, Yeah. But people want to get the bag together. Well, this is the community to where you can get the bag together, celebrate everybody's wins, because the ultimate win is, hey, we're doing this for the kingdom of God. We're making being a Christian, believing in something dope, right? Like, I want to permeate all culture. I want to be the influence, but I want Crown to be the influence. I want God to be at the heart of it.
Man, you hit that on the head, man. And the point you said, like, I genuinely get upset because I think people think Christianity is about like going to a building and just sitting on Sunday and then coming back. And so people understand. People really knew that what Jesus did was just gather his people, gather his friends, and all they did was do life together, break bread, eat, and some of them were drinking, whatever. But the whole point, they were doing life together. People understood that was the Christianity right there. I think people will flock to it because people are looking for groups. People are looking to fit in somewhere. There's no how. And so I really want to, I feel like what God is doing in this time is a new wineskin. We're not doing old traditional church. God really wants to break the four walls and bring it to the people. And that's what Jesus did. And if you're looking on like Revelation and what God, if you get into all that kind of prophecy, you know where the church is going. You know what God is doing in this land. At this point, it's almost not prophecy anymore. It's not a myth. It's literally happening. People are talking about it. So it's like, that's the heart of God, is like gathering his people and everyone benefiting from each other. And so like, that's really what church is. That's really what like the gospel is about. I'm all for it, man. I'm super excited, man. I'm
right there with you, bro. I'm at a loss for words, but yes, 100%. Like, I feel like church isn't what church is really supposed to be anymore. And this is a whole different conversation. I don't want to go too deep into that. Maybe that's another whole episode that we can get into.
Yeah.
But you know, church is more of a club from what I see, and those churches do really well because there's that need and that desire. But church is supposed to be church, right? Yeah. And you know, a community is supposed to be community. Church is community, but it's like
it's supposed to be consistent, yeah. Man. Not just once a week, bro, because you can't make family like that. You gotta, yeah, man. So, but yeah, man. I mean, honestly, bro, like we kind of kept talking. I can keep going with that. I was gonna ask you, like, if you want to share, like, just your background, bro, just of why you have this, like, where you from, everything, and then I can share mine.
Yeah, I mean, well, I wanted to use that as a segue because, you know, I didn't always stand so proud on my faith, right? Like I was raised in the church. I mean, shoot, we were raised in the church. For those that don't know, we grew up together. You know, I was, you know, born in Georgia, lived in Texas a few times, Connecticut, New York, and then I moved back to Texas, and that's where Joel and I got connected from middle school. And middle school on, we've known each other. So yeah, this is somebody I'm sitting across from somebody that I've known for literally the majority of my life. You know, like almost like 25, you know, years or so, right? Which is crazy when you think about it like that. But I'm gonna speak to me. I would go to church, but I wasn't so convicted about my faith. I had to go because my parents made me go. I remember like trying to pretend to be sick because I didn't want to go to church. It was boring.
Yeah.
And we had a church. We went to a church that had a basketball court in it, and that was my first love, basketball. And so I would, you know, sneak out of service to go to the bathroom and go and, you know, get a couple shots up. And church ended, and I was sweaty. I was like, man, that Holy Ghost got me.
Bro, I remember those days, man. But I was, why are you sweating like this? I'm like, oh, it was a good service. I was jumping. And I was like, but I was like, there's no way you're that excited.
So, you know, but like being, you know, I went to private school, I went to public school. Like I just wasn't rooted in what I believed in. I think a lot of, you know, young people, but especially young men, we want to fit in. I wanted to be the cool guy growing up, right? Like I was a sports guy. I was good at sports, but I wasn't cool. But I was around cool people, you know, quote unquote cool, right? Like because I was good, but I didn't really have a voice. You know, I did what other people wanted me to do, and you know, I just was really lost as I graduated high school because I didn't know me. I just didn't have a good self-image as a young man, to be honest. And you know, I found myself graduating high school and not knowing what I wanted to do, but I thought basketball was going to take me as far as I wanted because I had a big dream. As a young teenager, I had a big dream. I wanted to hoop. I wanted to go to the NBA. Like I worked hard for it too, but not hard enough. And so that dream fell short. Went to college, joined the Air Force, and you know, applied that same hard work mentality, discipline into that career. Did that for 6 years, worked for the government. And, you know, I got to a point to where, you know, I knew there was something bigger for my life. And I knew, you know, collecting a paycheck from somebody else, it's not bad, but it's just not the life that I ever wanted. And so I started dabbling into, you know, I remember the first like entrepreneurial book I read was Millionaire Next Door. And it was just like, I can't remember who wrote it, but it was about like just average people saving over like 40 years, you know, having millions of dollars. And I'm like, that sucks, you know, like that's not exciting. Like that's not life for me. You know, I'm not, you know, disrespect to Dave Ramsey, but that's not the life that I'm looking to build. I'm here to create generational wealth because I want to go and impact, and I want to put my family on and give them things that I never was given. But I also want to go help others that need to be helped. Right. I'm an active person. I'm not the person that wants to sit on the bench. I'm going to go play the game. Like, I don't understand these people that watch people play video games on YouTube. Like they watch the video games being played.
Mm-hmm.
That's not me. I'm gonna turn that off and I'm gonna go play the video game.
Yeah.
And so I started to, just really just kind of get outside of my comfort zone in my early 20s, still not knowing what I was doing or who I was, but, got into fitness. The first business ever was making 90-day workout plans and nutritional plans with that. And I remember the first time, literally one day I made, I think it was $1,400. And I was like, this is in like 2014, 2015. I'm like, oh, shoot. Like,
yeah, man.
It's possible, right? And so from there, got into e-commerce, and then from there, got into a few different other things, helping friends establish other businesses, leadership consulting firms, and fast forward to now, building my own personal brand as a life coach, a business coach, but now with Crown, and the freedom and that it can provide you. Haven't really even experienced it yet, but every day working towards what your purpose is one of the dopest things ever, right? Because my whole life I wondered, what was my purpose? Like, God, what was my purpose? And I got prophesied over at a young age, and I'm not really going to go into that, but through that, I always try to figure out, all right, I tried to fit what I was doing in with what I thought that was.
Right. Exactly.
And Crowned is it. You and I, we even had a conversation. I told you, I was like, hey man, I'm actually going all into Crowned because I'm gonna take a step back from my own personal business, because I know that this is what God has called me to do in life. And because it aligns perfectly, right? I stopped doing what I wanted to do, and now I'm doing what God wanted me to do. Because I don't know about you, man, I never thought I was going to be like a Christian entrepreneur, or be so bold in my faith, or I always believed in God, but I never thought that it was going to be at the forefront of it. I don't know if anybody else has ever struggled with that. I for sure did.
Yeah. Man, that's good. I think identity crisis is like pretty much what the enemy always goes after, like trying to find your purpose, and people just search and they go into the wrong different fields, different categories until they find the ultimate purpose, and then they're just thriving. So I think the whole life is about finding like what God puts you on this earth for, and the devil keeps you from that identity. So you're just always questioning, going left and right instead of being solid. That's good. For me, a little bit of my background, mine's a little bit opposite. I grew up like in a strong Christian background, like you did. My parents are African, bro, and so everything with them is all spiritual, it's all prophecy, and it's all like the fear of God is hard, man. So I grew up with a strong father that we used to watch a lot of these Left Behind movies, a lot of these Revelations, bro. I'm saying it was a fear. It was a fear, bro. And so for me, it was that's what started my Christian journey, was like the fear of the Lord. And so I never wanted to mess up, but then I understand that perfect love casts out fear. So I understand that God's a true father, and it's not fear-based, more out of love, So I learned that through time, but I grew up with that strong father that was insistent on that. And plus, man, I got hit a lot, man. so I got the rod, bro. I got the rod a lot, man. So, and I have 4 of the siblings. I'm the middle of 5 kids. So like, man, and our journey from Africa, it stems from that, man. Everything. My dad grew up in the village, what you see on TV, the huts, everything. Mom grew up in more of the city, under military family. And so my mom had a little bit of money, but my dad grew up super poor. And so like his life was, I was born here, I'm gonna die here. But then God will speak to him, and he understood prayer. And so my dad started praying at an early age. And from there, he started hearing the voice of God speak to him, prophecies left and right. But God told him it's a bigger picture. And like, you're gonna go to America, your kids are gonna be entrepreneurs around the world, they're gonna be evangelists, doing all these crazy things. And then God was like, I'm gonna show you. And so my dad, like you said, was trying to go search it out. But then God kind of was telling him like, hey man, I'm driving your car, right? You got to let me be content where you're at. All those dreams, all those visions are going to happen, but let me drive. And so when my dad finally let go of that, things started happening in his life. Me and my mom had their kids, and then we came here all America separately. So that journey itself, I'm not going to get too long into that because it's a long story, but we all came separately. And so we literally have to live off the faith of God. So my mom came first when she was pregnant, my younger sister, and I was a baby. And my dad came separately after that, like a year later. And then my older brother came a year after that. And so each journey was all like relying on God. Like we didn't know. It's like fresh off the boat, man. So we didn't have anybody here, no relatives, and so I remember sleeping at airports, sleeping at random people's houses, and my mom she didn't speak English, so it was all in French, and so it was basically what I'm saying is, man, we learn to live off what God provides, like Jehovah Jireh. He's gonna provide your next like pretty much what you need for the day. God will provide for that, and so
Mm.
like entrepreneurship is pretty much about that as well. So like at a young age, I learned to develop like living off of God's will and be content. And so for me also, what was I really good at besides just basketball and that was sales. And so a lot of like kids churches or ministries would use me to like to be in front of the face. Like if Joel did it, then he'll get the cool kids to do it. So it's almost like a marketing tactic for them if you think about it that way. But I understood at the young age, you know, I wanted to be that leader. I wanted to be the one that like spoke and stood in front of everybody, but I wasn't good at it. I remember, bro, I started doing sales. I remember Cutco knives, and you remember the sales job we had with me and you and Joey? It
Like
was
AT&T or something.
Universe going door to door, man. So
Not in the
man, I remember us staying at Starbucks like for a few hours, just like, bro, wanting to cool down. But I said to say is like, man, like sales and entrepreneurship was at an early age for me, not just because we needed it, but it's like I feel like it was my calling. That's what I was good at. I remember going selling candy canes during Christmas. I remember my sister would sell candy at school, and so entrepreneurship and sales was really kind of following my family and leading us as all as children to be entrepreneurs. And so I didn't understand that, and so I kind of ran from that because I wanted to go the basketball route. I wanted to go to NBA and all that and all that. And so but God knew. And so I ended up going to A&M Corpus Christi. I played basketball down there for about a year and a half, and then I stopped playing. But while I was there, man, I would like do social media and just do little things on the side for mom and pop shops. And so from there, I even was thinking about maybe I can create a business from this. And so I attempted. I failed because I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't have any help or any advice. But at the same time, man, I learned a lot. And on the other half, man, while I was playing basketball, because you get a lot of like publicity, people know who you are on campus and everything. I used to love talking to everybody, man. I didn't care if you were you were in the band, if you were an athlete, if you were just a regular student, if you're in Greek life. I didn't care, man. I wanted to meet everybody. That was my goal, right? And so I was cool with a lot of people. And so whenever people would throw events, they only had it was all it's like catered to only those type of people. It's only the athletes together, only the Greek lives together. But I decided, hey, you know what? Let's bring people together. Let's just start hosting these events. Now I will say this: at this time in college, like I grew up in a strong fear of the Lord. I never did anything wrong, like drinking or anything like that. But I got to college, I was just like, Lord, I just want 1 or 2 years of just like I just want to live, you know. And so that's kind of where it came from. And I feel like the Lord kind of honored that. And I remember, man, it was one night. I was like, man, if you want to go do that, I'll protect you. I'll bless you with that. But one day you're gonna serve me. You're gonna pay back full. And at that time, I didn't care, bro. I just wanted to go out and do stuff. And so we started throwing these, let's say apartment parties, right? And it was like mixed to everybody. And so it would get too big. And then the next year we started going to houses. And I just knew a lot of people who had different houses around campus and we would do it there. And then it got to the point where my friends were like, hey man, why don't we let's go all out. Let's go rent out a big like wedding venue. Fits 5,000 people. And it was expensive. And so we're like, man, I think we can get people there. And so we started just selling tickets, $5 tickets, and we got pretty much like 2,500 people there. And so after that, we started building traction, and we'd have beach parties. So every event we threw was just like thousands of people that would come out, all because we catered to everybody. We want everyone to come together and meet. And my favorite thing was whenever I used to see someone, like let's just say like a athlete talk to a regular student, and they're like, man, I've seen that guy in my class, but I never talked to him. But I was at your party, I finally met with him, and honestly now, bro, we're getting coffee, we're doing study. So I used to love hearing those stories of the collaborations happening because of the opportunity people got together. And so that's kind of for me, like that's when events started happening. And then I came to San Antonio and I got my master's at UTSA. And even then, man, I started connecting with different ministries, different young adult groups. I wanted to connect all at once. I say it to say it is don't run ahead of God, because every vision, how you said, Joe, the prophecy, all things God was showing you, you try to make it fit around that instead of just like being content, understanding, yeah, that's gonna happen, but let's do step by steps. There's other things you need to learn. There's other people you need to meet. There's tools you need to learn. So
Yeah.
So I ran ahead of God, and then I learned my lesson there. I started my business. I had a business partner. It didn't work out the way because of all the tools and things we didn't know either. I ran in front of God again, and so basically, God was teaching me contentment and teaching me His timing. But for me, I just was like, was a go-getter. I wanted to go out there, so I was like trying to make it happen instead of like letting God do it. And so that was a huge lesson for me.
Yeah.
And fast forward to where we kind of met. We talked on and off in there, but this past summer we really kind of started talking about like just creating like a network group for here in Dallas first, but then eventually it's gonna be global, man. So we started talking more about that and your ideas, your visions, and matched exactly what God was showing me. And that's when we kind of like put together and started doing like A and B stuff, like putting things on paper. Let's throw an event. Let's just see how it works. And so that's when all that stuff started happening. But it just came from same vision that God calls you to do, same dreams, aspirations, kind of similar as me. And so we're like, man, we're better together. So let's just do it together, man. Let's see what God does. And so that was a lot, but that fast forward summary short to where we are now, man. It's all God's driven, man. For me, it's like God's will. And so I'm super excited, and I know what God's doing in the state of Texas. And so I'm here for it.
No, that's super dope, man, because, just as you started off, hearing your dad's story, right? Like, we're living out our dad's story, if that makes sense. Like, because we all have a plan for our life. God either, tells us or shows us what that plan is, right? And I believe that's the vehicle is through a dream. It's something placed in your heart, right? I don't believe a dream is there just for no reason. It's tugging at you for a purpose, right? It's up to you to put action into that or to be curious enough to go figure it out, right? But, a lot of times, I'd say the world, like, hear prophecy, and it's kind of like a taboo thing, right? Like, we live in two worlds, you know what I mean? The physical and then the spiritual, right? And prophecy is definitely a part of that spiritual, and people have gifts in that. But your dad was told something, right? Imagine if your dad was like, he was too fearful to be like, nah, I can't do that, or why am I having these crazy thoughts? I'm not going to go to America, right? Like, kids, I don't even have kids. What do you mean they're going to be entrepreneurs, for God and across the world, right? And what if he tried and he never like came? Bro, think about how different not only his life would be, but your life.
Bro, honestly, man, I'll be real with you, bro. I've been now going back to Africa now, doing my family's orphanage and ministry there. Like, I wouldn't be alive, bro. Yeah. Like, I'm telling you, it's just being real as far. If my dad maybe attempted or even like wanted to do that, I wouldn't even be here today.
Man, and that's crazy, right? It's the butterfly flap that causes a tsunami on the other side of the world. But that's what our lives do. We think these small little individual things we do on a daily basis don't actually matter. Even if, you're talking about patience, right? Being patient with God's timing. That's one of the hardest things ever, man. I heard a pastor say, don't ever pray for patience, because you're going to wait a long time. and that's the whole purpose. Like, God, help me with patience. You're going to wait decades. And, but having that patience to understand that it's everything that you experience in life is actually building you for the purpose of God's plan for your life, right? And I think we take a lot of the decisions that we make on a daily basis, whether small or large, for granted, right? It's like we have a Coke every single day. Really don't matter, right? Because we think of like, oh man, I just drank one Coke today, no big deal. Then tomorrow, Coke. Well, that's going to add up. You're going to start to gain weight, and you'll be confused. Like, man, like, I'm doing nothing different.
Boy, you drinking too much Coke, man. Yeah. No, man, I like what you said about patience, because if you look at like other translations, it transfers to like love, joy, peace, patience. It says long suffering. That's the other translation of like patience. So it's like you can see like the perspective. The longer you wait on the Lord, the bigger like the responsibility, the bigger the calling the Lord has for you. So if you have a big dream, big vision, big calling, you best believe you're going to be waiting, because every story in the Bible talks about that. Joseph's story is the same way. He waited. He was in jail for 13 years, bro, like for doing nothing. You know what I mean? And then like Moses, he went to the wilderness. He was in Egypt 40 years. They went to the wilderness 40 years, then came back another 40 years. So like, you just think about like even Jesus, bro. We don't see him until he's 30. Like, bro, like long suffering, that waiting is like it's a part of it. You got to learn to be content, man. The Bible even says like, blessed are those who wait on the Lord. Blessed are those who suffer. Like when Peter and them were still getting whipped, they're in jail. and they were like, man, we're getting beat, but we're blessed. We're blessed. We're blessed. That perspective is like the longer your waiting is, the longer that period is, it's blessing. It's a blessing that's coming in your life, right? You just got to learn that contentment, be a man after God's timing, which is the man after God's heart. And that's what David was really highlighted, because he could have been king. He could have killed Saul. He could have did many things, but he was highlighted because it was like, God, if that's what you want from me, I'm gonna wait on your timing. I'm gonna allow you to do it, and I'll step into that role. And so that's what God loved him. It was a man after God's timing. So I think that waiting period is a part of human nature, but it's the entrepreneurial journey, it's the ministry journey, it's life, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's hard nowadays, right? Like, because you're going through that long suffering, and you turn on your social media and you see
Man,
the highlight reel of other people, and you're like, man, I'm so mad that this 21-year-old is over here on a yacht and driving my dream car. But
yeah.
you got to understand that, it's all for a better reason. You just, I my personal opinion is most people give up in that long suffering. They
Oh,
don't,
for sure.
they don't weather the storm, and they never see what's on the other side of that. But if they just understood that that's like a workout, that's making you and molding you to become that, right? Like, long suffering doesn't mean you're not doing anything or putting action.
Right.
You're supposed to see, faith without works is dead. So if you believe you have a plan and a destiny for your life, you're supposed to put action in
Yeah, man.
that long suffering. It's called aggressive patience. Patient with the results, but aggressive with the work habit.
Exactly.
That's what actually sets you apart. But you got to be willing to, and that's all about the mindset, right? To be on this journey of life, right? So,
Man, you mind me asking a question for you?
yeah,
Just
ask a question.
brought up mindset. I'm like, but you're the mindset guy, man. So
Yeah.
like I had a question just like, so how does someone like what are some tips they can do every day to make that mindset to keep them motivated? Because like sometimes you're by yourself, you're isolated, but what are some tools that you can like easy tools you can like say to someone, hey, if you do this in the morning, if you do this in the evening, whatever tools that you do to keep you motivated, what are some of those things?
Yeah, that's a great question. And my first response is, don't believe the lie of motivation or being motivated, right? Look for discipline over motivation. Motivation is an emotion, it's a feeling. And just like anger and happiness come and go, so will motivation, right? Look for discipline, right? Have that mindset to do something regardless of how you feel. And that, when you get to that place, that's actually where you become motivated, because you're like, you get motivated in the fact that you don't even want to do it. You just show up regardless, right?
Yeah, man.
And for somebody starting out, it's like, how can that even happen? Like, no, trust me, don't do something to get motivated, or don't get motivated to do something to get motivated, right? But John Maxwell, leadership author and coach, he talks about how you win the day before you even say a word, right? And so I think it's very important to wake up and start your day. I love being grateful in the morning. Like, I love waking up. First thing I get to is prayer, right? Like, God, thank you so much for waking me up today. That means you're not done with me. And since you're not done with me, it's giving me another day to get closer to the destiny and plan that you have for my life, right? When you start off with the fact that you're grateful for doing this right here.
Yeah,
When you're
man.
grateful for that, everything else, you can find gratefulness in everything else, right? But
Yeah.
and I'm gonna give you some science behind that too, right? Like, our minds are the most impressionable in the morning, right? That just based off of the frequency state that our brain is at,
Mm-hmm.
the most impressionable. So that is why it's so important to start your day with something that's positive, being grateful, right? Getting into, the word, right? Listening to something that is going to motivate you, is going to hype you up, right? Some motivational speech, or just a story or a podcast, right? Like, to each is their own on what they want to do, but you got to understand, you got to feed yourself positivity so your output can be the same, right? You can't put out what you don't put in, right? And so it's like, so often people are like, man, I had a bad day today. It's like, Do you have a bad day or just like a bad 2 minutes?
Yeah, bad moment.
The things that we go through don't last longer than 2 to 5 minutes, right? But
Man.
if you start your day focusing on that gratitude, focusing on that positivity, watch, if you drive to work or you drive into whatever you got to do and you're working out or you're going for a run early in the morning, these are all things that benefit you. You're gonna have that stronger mindset. Um, and I believe doing hard things is very important to create, that discipline, that motivation, right? You do hard things, you give yourself a pat on the back, like, man, I just ran a mile in 6 minutes. That's
Yeah.
right. Like taking pride in those things. So that's my advice.
No, I like doing hard things, bro. I read a book. It was called Eat the Frog. It was basically talking about like, bro, do the hard thing in the morning, like how you just said, like run a mile, do the things you don't want to do, because everything else is gonna be easier the rest of the day. And so I was talking to the sales guy, man. He was telling me like he does all his drop-ins, all his cold call. Basically, what he's gonna get a lot of no's, a lot of like discouragement. He gets that done in the morning. Why? Because at 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock in the afternoon, he has full energy because he's already like been awake. All the bad stuff, all the hard things are already out the way. So his day's only gonna get started from there. And so like, and it motivates you, man, because like, bro, it's like working out, man. Like the best workout days, the best times you do things, the times you don't want to go. While
Yeah.
but while you're there, you're like, bro, this was the best feeling ever. And then afterwards, man, you feel so accomplished. You feel like you could do anything. And that's all mindset, bro. It's like it's nothing hard. It's all in the mindset where you decide to go or decide not to go. And then people look at you like, bro, I've tried so many years, I've tried to do this and that work. And then you ask them, well, how often you going? Oh, maybe once, twice, or how often are you reading your word? I need to get close to God. Well, how often do you spend time with him? Man, in the morning, in the night, or man, sometimes only once a day. Well, God's throughout the day, man. The more time you spend with him, the more you get closer to him. The more times you put the work in the gym, the more you're likely to you look like that. So it's really not a hard science. It's more of the mindset where the enemy keeps you like questioning, keeps you like, man, did God really tell you to do that? Or hey, are you really gonna be successful if you do it this way? Maybe try it this way. So now you're bouncing different strategies instead of just sticking to what like the formula. Stick to the formula. Don't try to change it. And bro, that's really good, bro, because I think that's not just an entrepreneur thing. That's more of like a people thing, man.
Nice thing, yeah.
So thank you.
For sure. Let me ask you a question. What's your dream?
Man, my dream, bro, $1 billion. Nah, nah, man. Honestly, my dream, man. I mean, that'd be great. That would help me actually fulfill my dream. But my dream is literally, man, I really want to be like a liaison around the world for like doing third world countries, helping them like economic development, whether it's philanthropy or just like teaching business tips or creating business groups there. But I really want to target a lot of third world countries and then connect them with like prominent countries like the USA or even Asia or even like any prominent country that's doing successful business that's growing. I want to connect those third world countries, those struggling countries to that. And so like someone told me like, hey man, you're like a consultant, you're like a liaison, you're like a broker. And so like I don't know exactly what it is. I'm still growing, I'm still learning in that, but the goal would be that. Why? Because that's where I come from, and I just think people don't have a hope or people don't have opportunity because lack of knowledge. Man, like even just like now we have AI. There's people around the world that's never even heard of that. And so they're doing stuff old school. If they even had the opportunity to even listen to a seminar or something, that would benefit them. So my dream is more, that's a long-term dream. Obviously, I want to make money. I need money to do that. But mine's more of like a liaison philanthropy, economic development. I want to go with third world countries and start things there. What if I live there for 6 months, a year? That's kind of like the long-term goal. Now that's for me, that's my dream, bro. That's because that covers for me my evangelistic thing, apostle, teaching, mentorship, but also marketing and all that, man. So that's pretty much the big dream.
Yeah, I love that. That's super dope, man.
Man, I mean, what about you, man? Because I'm pretty sure you got big goals and dreams too. So like, what are some things you want God do through you?
I mean, right now we're building, my dream. Like I said, my whole life I was wanting to figure out what my purpose was. So now the fact that I'm living in my purpose, I'm, essentially executing my dream. And my dream is just to similarly just connect Christian business owners across the globe to go and do a lot of those things that you were talking about with going in and touching the lives in communities. I think about me when I was an 18-year-old, graduating high school. I wish I had somebody come in and speak in my high school to, take me by the hand and like really, even just, they don't even need to mentor me, but point me in the right direction of where I need to go. And I remember when I was in the Air Force, I had a leadership course that I had to go to. They brought in a speaker, and I don't remember the person, but he was like, there's a room full of like probably 250 different enlisted members in the Air Force. And he was like, who believes that they can be a millionaire in the next 5 years? It's literally me and one of my buddies that I was sitting right next to. We're the only two people.
Wow.
Raise our hands in
out of
250. Out of 250, right?
Yeah.
And we saw something bigger in ourselves. But again, at that time, I still didn't know how to get there, right? And even with the information age, we don't have all that information. There's a lot of people that try to scam other people to making money for themselves, and makes it look like they live that lifestyle. But I just want to be that person that puts other people on. Like, Crowned isn't for me. Crowned is for the community and the people that we build, are building it for. And I want that to touch the lives of everybody across the world, because you help other people accomplish their dreams. In turn, they're going to turn around and help you accomplish their dreams, right? So I believe we have the opportunity to make $1 billion, right? Like, I don't think that that's so far-fetched, right? Like, but it's going to come from the value of helping. If we make $1 billion, think about how much more money the rest of the Christian community is going to be able to make. And then when that comes into play with money, well, guess what? Power and influence comes into play too. Sure. Now what happens if we start putting people that believe in the values that God has given us to live life, permeating all cultures, all policy, all governments, right? Everybody across the world. What would that look like, right? And this world is imperfect. We already know how it ends. But while I live here, we're going to make that happen, right? And so that's my dream.
No, that's good, man. But that's what I even love the name Crown, bro. Because like, if you look at when the word says we're all kings and saints. So if we understand we're all equal, then why are we looking at social media and looking at my neighbor and getting jealous? We forgot our identity. We forgot that we're all kings and saints and queens. And I think it's about like the identity crisis that we talked about, man. If we understand that kingship and that authority that we have, then we can actually have the not just the motivation, but like the trigger, what pulls us, the calling to go out and do what God called us to do. Sometimes the calling, we're scared of it, or we don't think it can happen, is because we don't realize that we are that king and queen or saint that God do. Jesus is the King of Kings, but we're all heirs. We're all heirs as well. So I think we need to remember that. And so that's why I like the name Crown, bro. I really love that, because it's a good reminder of who you are.
Exactly, man. What else?
Man, I got another one for you. So like, let's say someone is just starting off and they're have a full-time job and they're pouring into their side hustle or their side business. What's a good balance that they can do, or they can have in their life or their daily routine, or what do you do? What do you do, and what has helped you, and what have you seen?
It's a great question. I think it's dependent upon everybody's individual situation, right? Like, are you single? Do you have kids? Do you, because different situations make it a little bit more challenging, not impossible, but you have to have the understanding that there is no balance, right? Like, you can't balance. Like, what is balance, right? Like, literally, what is balance? The only thing that is balanced is a scale, but how can you balance your life? What is it? Like, you give, there's 5 different categories and you give 20%, 20%, 20%, like, right? So, and you got to understand, if you have a big dream or a dream at all, and it's going to take more of you that you think is actually required to make it happen, right? So I thought I was going to be in the NBA, right? You thought that too. I'm just kidding. But
did. I did for sure, bro.
Oh, okay. Hey, I appreciate that. Right. But I thought I was going to be in the NBA. I would work out. I would go to the gym multiple times a day. Like when I was in high school, my mom would drop me off at 5:30 in the morning at Central High School, and because she had to go to work, and so I would go and I'd shoot for like 2 hours in the gym, right? Like so, I was putting in work. I ain't make it to the NBA. I didn't even play college basketball, right? So I thought that's what it was going to take. It required more than I ever thought. And not just like a little bit more, a lot more. So you need to, I remember one of our coaches, he told us, there's somebody right now practicing to beat you. Right. And I'm like, bro, if somebody's practicing to beat me, like that changed my whole mentality. Right. So put the effort into whatever you're doing as if somebody already has your idea. So somebody already has your business idea and they're going to do it better than you, right? So figure out what works for you. You got to wake up at 4 to get a couple hours in before your 9 to 5. Awesome. And then if you put, from 5 to midnight and you got to, kind of thug it out for a couple years to really, like, how bad do you really want it? That's the heart of the question is, okay, there's no balance, but how bad do you really want it? And when you really get real with yourself, if you don't want it that bad, you just like the idea of it, you'll figure that out. But don't let somebody else tell you what the right way to go and do anything is, right? You just got to figure out for your personal self and understand that you're going to be out of balance making it happen.
No, that was a great answer because honestly, my answer was like, yeah, bro, what is balance? That's what I was gonna say because it's like, how do you balance that? But I like the point that you said, man. Like, people don't understand how much work you got to put in. You got to put in that work. Like, man, I like how you said, I thought I was doing X amount. I thought I was putting enough work in the gym, but then I started hearing stories of like NBA players actually making and stuff they did. Oh, they were crazy, bro. They would wake up, their whole lives were revolved around that. And so it's like that fear of missing out. You got to like let go of that. Like, you got to like grind it out for a few years when people might not even see you, people might not hear of you, but the outcome people will hear of you. But if you try to balance, like, I want to have fun with my friends, but then I want to also create a business, bro, that's not going to really work because you really got to dedicate something like hardcore. So like, if you have a 9 to 5, man, you're gonna have to wake up earlier. You're gonna have to wake up early so you can pour into your business 100%, and then also go to work. Then the second, with the other side of that is like, you got to sleep earlier. So like, you can't just come home and like, oh man, I want to have me time. Well, you got to sacrifice that me time to go to sleep early so you can wake up early so you can pour into your business, because eventually that time will catch up to you where you're successful and then you have a lot of me time, And so it's just like that fear of missing out, man. What do you want to do and how bad do you want it? And so that was a great discussion because I thought I was working hard. And I thought I was, man. I was working, bro. But after hearing some stories, like, man, no, the sacrifice they did is because they really wanted it. And so like, how much are you willing to sacrifice? That's huge.
Yeah, and sacrifice is just a trade up, right? You're sacrificing all these other things that everybody else does. Like, you're not missing out on it. You're not. You're not. Just think about if you made 7 figures in the next couple of years. You can go and do all of those things that you missed out on, but do it at a higher level. And I can guarantee you, when you get to that point, you're not even really going to want to be doing that. And those people aren't going to serve your vision. And that's what also something real. I don't want to be long-winded, but if you're not single, you got association is everything. This isn't even just for people in relationships, but who you allow in your circle needs to align with your vision. If they're not supporting you and excited for you to go through that season, it's going to be hard to follow through with your dream, because love is crazy, man. Mm-hmm. Love is a crazy thing because it'll make you just forget all about your dream. Like, man, no, I just want to be in love, right? But it's true. It's funny, but it's true. But who you choose to spend your time with, not even just a spouse or a significant other, who you spend your time with in life will determine where you go. They'll either make you half of yourself, or they'll make you the full person that you need to be by coming together with you.
Exactly.
And you got to watch, whether it be friends or people you just allow into your life, they have to play into that vision. They have to. If they do not, I've never seen it.
Yeah, man. But also the biggest quote I learned too, that when I was going through just like a redefine the crossroads, the era trying to figure myself out, man, leadership is lonely. The
Yeah.
biggest thing
Yeah.
that leadership requires, you're gonna be alone. And then pretty much every leader we've read about in history, but even biblically, they were alone for a significant time. They felt abandoned. They felt like no one was around. But during that time period, you learn to rely on God, and I think that's the whole purpose. Like, you find your
Fact.
identity in that. So you have to go through that loneliness, that the time where you feel like, man, is this even worth it? I'm super sad, but you still keep putting the work in. You still keep being aggressive with it, and God will show up for you. But He's teaching you that, like, hey, man, you're not gonna make this alone. You're only gonna make this by me. It's not gonna be any of your friends, any of that. It could be your spouse. Obviously, that they're gonna help you with that, but you need to learn that if you don't understand that leadership like is lonely, then man, you're gonna really struggle in entrepreneurship or whatever endeavor you attempt to do. Because
Yeah, bro.
I didn't understand it, man. Once I understood that, it helped me really accept what I was going through, because man, I just felt like I felt abandoned. I felt like I was by myself and I was like helping people, but nothing was coming back to me, and I was just like mad at everything. But man, I mean, again, it came from a mentor. It came from someone like pointing to me, which I needed. And I heard that quote, and then it really resonated with me, and that really helped me get through a lot of the stuff that I was going through.
That's good, man. That's good. With as you're talking about these crossroads and things that you have gone through, especially like, you had that year off of like God, you know what I mean? You were talking about in your story, like, hey, God, let me go ahead and chill for a little bit. I'm gonna come right back to you. That makes me think of that Kanye West lines, like, I had a dream that I could buy my way to heaven, but I woke up and spent it on a necklace.
Yeah.
That's what that makes me think of. But as you're going through that season, and then 180ing and stepping into faith, why did you step into faith? How does that help you become an entrepreneur?
Man, I mean, honestly, why I did it? Because I had no other choice. Because I was like, pretty much, I was like the lowest point of my life. So like, I really just like I have no other choice but to go your way. But how it helped me was perseverance, man. I think like life and business, ministry, everything is about perseverance. How to be content through the small, how to be content through the big. Like how Paul talks about, is faithful through a little, faithful at most. David is the same way. But how do you do that? It's by being content, accept where you're at, and that's perseverance. So if you're in business for a few years, your first year, you didn't make as much, man, persevere. Let's do it again. Don't give up on that. And how do you do that is by pressing into God. So during that year process of you like going ups and down, are you pressing? Like God is the only way that you're going to be able to persevere in this life. Like He will never fail you. He's always faithful. If you try to go and like find new friends, new network opportunities, even if you find new groups, at the end of the day, people will fail you. You'll come back to the point where you're back to lonely again. And so you're back to like by yourself again, but God is still there. What God is teaching you is to pressing into Him so He can give you that energy. He can give you that encouragement. He can give you that joy again for you to keep going tomorrow. And so the how is pressing into the Lord. The why is because you need to. That's the only way you can get to being successful as whatever endeavor it is. But for me, man, like I said, man, I think perseverance and endurance is a huge key for like business owners in life. The how is by pressing into your faith, whether it's reading the word. Like it's almost like if you read the word every day, try something new. Like what I did, man, literally it was like, I was like, well, wake up 20 minutes earlier and I have quiet time, no phone, nothing. I never done that before, but it was something I'm adding to my routine. So it's not just the same thing over and over again. Like God wants you to press in harder. So you could always press in harder. And so like, if you think you're getting close to the Lord and you're like, man, I'm still in the same position. Well, maybe God's saying, let's press in a little harder because He has something to tell you. And the only way He's going to tell you and reveal it to you is if you press into Him, so you can get out that crossroads or you can find that clarity that you need. And so, I would say, man, that perseverance and endurance is like the biggest lesson. And then the how is you pressing against the Lord, you pressing into Jesus, you reading your word, you get into community as a part of it. I think that's basically short answer to you, man, is perseverance, endurance, and then pressing in the Lord is the how.
Yeah, I love that, man. It's necessary.
Mm-hmm. I
Absolutely.
mean, you're gonna do it, or you're not gonna do it. And if you don't do it, you're gonna keep going. And God wins at the end of the day of everything. So he's always patient with us. So
Yeah. Well, like that hits home for me because one of our childhood friends, I remember, I was just joking around about how you had that year off in college. Well, after I left, for the military, I got stationed in Las Vegas, and that was you see, that was my life for a couple of years. I was like, man, I just turned 21, got sent to Las Vegas, making the most money as, like I've ever made in my life because I was at a minimum wage job. Now I'm like working for the government. I got a good government job. And, I was doing things my own way and just, wasn't living how I should have been. Right. And I remember, right, even all this self-pleasure, I still found myself at one of the lowest points in my life. And I remember calling up one of our childhood friends, having a conversation with them and just being real with them. And I remember, man, this is so vivid. I could tell you where I was at, how I was standing, the way the sun was shining. But he told me, he said, Joe, he's like, the thing is, people always change. He's like, God never changes.
Mm-hmm.
God's never going to give up on you, right? People may give up on you. People may leave you. People may leave you stranded when you never understood it and why. But God will never do that to you. And that was the moment to where I woke up, and that's why it was so vivid. I woke up, and that's when I started pursuing my relationship with God.
No, that's perfect right there, bro. Yeah, man, that's perfect. I'll just leave it at that, man. I got one more good question I want to ask. I may have a lot, but I just want to ask this one off the top of my head. Man, so like branding, what do you find the best way to brand yourself to get out there? Like, let's say I want to start a business, okay? But I created my Instagram, I created my socials, all that, right? What's the best way that you find yourself to brand yourself? Because before you brand your business and your product, people need to believe, people need to trust you, people need to believe in who you are. And so how do you personally brand your personal self to get out there to start like entrepreneurial journey? Like what's some things you do or some tools or things like that?
Yeah. To brand yourself, it's just like a person, right? Like, what are your values, right? Your values are the filtration system in which you make decisions with, right? So, our crowned brand is Christian business owners, right? Connecting Christian business owners. And from that, there's so many different things that can spider web from that. So you need to understand, all right, as a business or a personal brand, what are my values? Why did I build this personal brand or business product, etc.? What is my goal with it? What am I accomplishing? How does it service the needs of the people in the marketplace? And from there, you can think long term of how that's going to impact those people, those different ideas, and it can almost spider web out from there. But it's uncovering and asking yourself questions about really the why of why you're doing everything, right? Like, why? And if you keep on asking yourself why, you almost reverse engineer what you're looking to accomplish, right? But branding is not hard if you understand what you're looking to accomplish in that sense, because you can understand. Like, I'm sure somebody's heard the term like, oh, that's on brand with so and so, right? Like for example, 75 Faith, right? We were just talking about it, texting. And 75 Faith is basically a Christian inspirational offshoot of 75 Hard, right? 75 Hard is a fitness challenge. 75 Faith is also a mindset Christian challenge to where every single day, you wake up, you pray in the morning, you pray at night, you drink a gallon of water, you work out twice a day. And there's other things a part of it as well. But that is on brand with my personal brand because I'm a business coach. I'm a mindset coach, right? A life coach. right? It's on brand. I love fitness, and on my Instagram, I'll post fitness videos and things like that. I'll post mindset things, right? I'll post business things. But this challenge is on brand for me because it's a part of the values and it's literally something that I value and attribute it to helping me build my mindset. So I took this challenge, I created it for Christians, and also we partnered with Crowned as well because it's also on brand with Crowned.
Exactly.
And so when you understand what you stand for, the things that you like, and what will bring value to everybody else in the marketplace that you're already providing value for, you can go and brand yourself from there, if that makes sense.
No, that's exactly it, man. You got to find that why. Like that why is the huge part, and that's like when you spend time with the Lord, or have you self-search, or however you feel. Once you figure out that why, then you can kind of brand from there. I mean, that's pretty much it, man. For me, like I just like I love getting out in the community, and so I'm always like, hey, man, go help somebody, go volunteer, go be involved with what somebody else is doing, and then from there you'll understand like, first of all, what are you helping, and what like endeavors are you're part of, and that kind of will steer you to where you should be, and your market strategies, like where it should line with. So, like for me, man, like I like to connect people, I like to bring people together, and so that's what Crown. And I'm a part of the networks that I'm a part of as well. It's pretty much similar to bringing people together. But before that, I was already going out in the community, serving, volunteering, like being hands and feet for people, and trying to connect each other. So I was already doing that, but I didn't have the vehicle, the tool to put it all together. And so for me, like when people see what I'm doing now with Crown or other networks, they see it's just perfect. It's perfect for them. So when I invite them to things, they usually come because they understand that they're going to get a connection that they need. And that's pretty much like, yeah, it's important. So it's easy to brand, man, but you explained it really well. And so I like that. I just think people struggle with branding once they understand, like once they start, they don't know what to do, how to get in the community, how to like brand what they do. And so I like hearing like different steps and tools of other people's perspective and how you can do that. So appreciate you for that answer, my guy.
Yeah, absolutely. I got one last one for you. Entrepreneurship is definitely the road less traveled. Even in today's day and age, it's like entrepreneurs, business owners, they're the new celebrities. It's definitely glorified on social media and in movies. But it is the road less traveled for a few different reasons. But why did you choose to be an entrepreneur? Why did you choose to go that route? As opposed to, right, like I'm sure you could have killed it in a career climbing that ladder. Like what chose you to branch off and be the boss of your own life?
Yeah, man. Short answer is time. I needed time and that flexibility to go do whatever else God called me to do. Like for instance, like for me, my ministry, my family have an orphanage in Africa, and I do stuff in Honduras. But I needed time, I needed money to go do that. If I'm kind of doing stuck at a 9 to 5, so to say, then like it's hard for me to like break off and go do what I need to do, because sometimes I have fundraising meetings and events that I need to go to. But if I'm at 9 to 5, I can't go do that. And then I know what God called me and my family to do. I feel like I'm not fulfilling that role. I'm fulfilling that calling of what God wanted me to do. And so entrepreneurship is the only like way that I saw myself. And I mean, sales is a part of it too, but if you're in sales, you're pretty much an entrepreneur. But that was the only way I can find myself to get time back. And so that was the biggest piece for me, because like if I can do full-time philanthropy, like I say, be a liaison and do that and get paid for that, then that would be my dream to do that. But in order to get there, man, I gotta build it first. But I can't build it if I'm at 9 to 5. And so I need that time back. And so that's the short answer. That's pretty much the reason why I needed my time, man. And I want to be a boss of my own calendar. I don't want to like just stick with something. And secondly, too, man, I want to make money, man. I want to make generational wealth. And I think if I make someone else money, you could do that, but it's a longer gain. I think I can do that like quicker and a lot faster if I just do it my way, So yeah, that's to answer your question like that, man. I can go along with it, but it's really that easy.
And is it worth it?
Oh, definitely, bro. Definitely. Like, man, like my family, exactly. Like if I didn't even start this entrepreneurship journey like years ago, I would say like about like 7 years ago, if I didn't start it, then man, like we have 60 orphan kids now. We would have had that. We have 2 water wells. We have 50 widows we support. We're starting a clinic next year. So like I wouldn't even like those kids they look up to. When I go back and see that, like we talked about like me even being here. That's the reason why I'm like, man, I wouldn't even been here if my dad wouldn't even start that dream, that calling, because when I go there, I see the suffering that happens there and the way they live, bro. Like they look at me like they thank God that I even had to do that. But for me, it's like I feel fulfilled because I can help them, but I couldn't help them if I was tied down somewhere.
It's
So,
tough.
man, it's 100% worth it. But I don't just do stuff in Africa. I do stuff in San Antonio. I do stuff in Dallas. I do stuff locally too, as much as I can. But I need that time to focus on that, So entrepreneurship, you do gotta work for it, but at least you get that freedom to decide, hey, if I have something that comes up, I can go do that.
Exactly. 100%. Yeah, man, I'd say the same, it's time, right? Like if you ever been low on money, somehow, some way, you end up finding more money, right? Like
Yeah,
even the homeless people come up with money, right? Like they sat at the corner like this, right? Like they find more money. You'll never get more time back, right?
exactly.
And,
Exactly.
we live this life to use our time purposefully. And for me, I always had a big dream, but I choose entrepreneurship because of time and lifestyle. I remember having to ask, I love my time in the Air Force. Glad it's over, but I remember having to be like, "Can I go use the restroom real quick?"
Man.
You know what I mean? And I've even had to do that at corporate jobs too. This is in a government thing. I've had to do that at jobs too, right? And if you take too long, they pull you aside. And, hey, you've taken too many breaks today on the clock. But like, you're like I didn't like that, and I never liked, in my dream didn't fit into somebody that had that career 20 years ahead of me.
Right.
I remember I knew I was done with the military because I remember he was a chief master sergeant on the base, and you don't know military stuff. But he was the highest ranking enlisted member on the base. Okay, and out of like thousands of people, highest ranking enlisted member. He's been in the military for 30 years. I remember I saw him. I was leaving the gym. I saw him driving a Scion. You remember like the Scion box cars?
Yeah, man. Yeah.
I saw him driving that, and I'm like, 30 years to drive that? No, I cannot do that. Like, and I'm not even like that much of a materialistic person, but I was like, to me, that was just a representation of this wasn't the vehicle, no pun intended, that could get me to the actual destination that God put in my heart, right? It's not about the money. It's not about the watches. For me, I love what you said, man. You gave me goosebumps. The fact that you can go and you can impact other people to where they look up to you and they're so grateful that you are alive and doing something bigger than yourself. That's what life is about, man.
Exactly.
At a job, a cubicle never gave me that sense of fulfillment, right? And it's not in the sense of, oh, I want to do this for me. I want people to look at me as this great person. I'm an everyday, regular person. I just followed through, right? And that's the cool thing about entrepreneurship is you can take an idea and turn it into impacting the world.
Exactly.
It's crazy.
100%, man. I mean, honestly, entrepreneur is not for everybody, but I do believe that you can do if you really attempt to do it. Because think about it, man. Jesus and his disciples, they were entrepreneurs. Like they had to make money somehow to support the ministry. And so like Jesus was a carpenter. He sold wood furniture. He sold those things to support himself. So it's like, I don't think it's not like people look at it, oh man, you're just chasing money. No, I think it's the whole point is that time. Jesus was doing his ministry, but he needed to support the ministry. So what he was good at, he applied it, and then he created something to make money. So I think like it's biblically. I think everyone maybe not called to like a certain entrepreneurship, but you are called to something to build. You are supposed to build something. And
yeah.
So,
well, I hate that phrase of, oh, you're just going to chase money. I'm actually willing to, this might be a little hot take here. Employees chase money more than entrepreneurs do. Entrepreneurs, how you get paid is adding value. People see that value, they part with their dollar, right? Employees trade the most important thing, which is time, for the least important thing, which is money. And why it's the least important thing is because when you're on your deathbed, well, actually, there's a book called, I think it's The 5 Wishes of the Dying. And it's, somebody that worked in a hospice facility for 30 years. And it's like the 5 top regrets of people's lives. And, one of the things yeah, money was not attributed to any of those 5 regrets. I wish I made more money. It was all about time, all about life and spending it with the right people, right? So I won't be long-winded with that, man. So
Oh, you hit it on the head, bro. You hit it on the head, man. So that's why I do what I do: entrepreneurship, philanthropy work, ministry. I do that because of the time. I want to make an impact in this life.
absolutely. That's all I got, bro. You got anything else?
No, man, this was great. I liked it, man. Honestly, I wasn't expecting to do this.
Episode 1.
Yeah, episode 1. Stay tuned for episode 2. We're gonna get better and better, man. I want to also say, like, we want like our business leaders, ministry experts, all those things to come and join us to have these discussions. Because, like I said, I didn't know certain things in business, in ministry, because I didn't know it was available. And so, like, we want to create that platform there so people can either learn from or even just partnering with us. So I'm excited, bro. I'm super excited for 2025, man.
Yes, absolutely, man. Super excited for 2025. Do you have anything that you want to like promote or announcements or anything like that before we end it here?
No, not for me personally right now. I mean, I will just mention like the philanthropy work. Me and my family are going back again in the spring to Africa, so I'll talk about it more as we go. But there'll be opportunities to support us, whether it's financially or even physically. So I'll talk more about that in maybe later episodes when we get more the roots and the grassroots of things that we need. And so I'll talk more about that later. But I wanted you to kind of share more about what we got up for Crown, and also the 75 faith.
Yeah. First, with Crown, for 2 things. If you're in the Dallas Fort Worth area, we have an event, a Crown Business Networking event, January 23rd at 7 p.m.
Mm-hmm.
If you go to our Instagram or our personal Instagram pages, you will see those updates with information and where to get your tickets. The following day, January 24th, Joel and I are doing a strategy session dinner for businesses, brand owners, creatives, entrepreneurs. And what the strategy session dinner is going to entail is a marketing strategy session to where we're going to go through and talk about, hey, what your goals are and how a marketing strategy behind that can play into actually accomplishing your goals. We're talking about different offers you can create when it comes to business growth strategies. Talk about how to become a thought leader in the industry, right? If you're a chiropractor, how do you separate yourself from other chiropractors?
Right.
Especially if you're in the local area, right? And so we talk about business growth, marketing strategies, thought leadership, but also the ability to get around people that are investing in themselves and wanting to make 2025 the greatest year of their life. That's why we're doing this at the beginning of the year, is because everybody has that mindset: new year, new me, new year, new business, right? So let's actually make that happen for you. And so we want to bring people in that truly have that desire, and not just that desire, but action, right? To make that happen, right? It's not a free dinner. It's $257 a ticket. Dinner is included in that price,
right?
Which that's
you
great.
gotta eat, man.
You got to eat, and so it's going to be a great time. I'm super excited to be around the people that are going to be there, people that are registered, and it's going to be dope. And so follow our Crown Instagram page, and there's going to be some upcoming posts about that with information. And we're going to be putting out more videos around that. And then lastly, with 75 Faith. So the 75 Faith, like I talked about before, is something that I'm putting out on my own personal Instagram. And but I'm partnering with Crown, which is super cool because it aligns with the vision. It's faith-based. Like I said, maybe you've heard of 75 Hard, maybe you haven't. It's totally fine. But the 75 Faithful Challenge is 75 days of challenging your mind, body, and soul, driving your relationship closer to God. There's only 6 rules that you need to follow every single day for 75 days. I'm starting my 75 days January 1st. Okay. But I'll just go ahead and go through these rules. We're going to continue on posting about that from my personal Instagram page as well as Crown. But pray at the start and the end of your day. Work out 2 times a day. One of those workouts needs to be outside, and each workout needs to be 45 minutes at a minimum. Follow a diet. Choose the diet. You know, whatever you want to choose, but be strict with yourself. No cheat meals, alcohol, or smoking. It can be hard for other people. This is a mindset challenge to tie you in closer to your faith. 75 faith, right? You're going to need God to get you through this, especially if you drink, especially if you're a smoker, right? It's going to be hard. But on the other side of that 75 days, it's going to be absolutely awesome. Read 10 pages from the Bible each day, drink a gallon of water a day, and then post a selfie with a Bible verse that you read that impacted you, tagging myself and then Crown. The reason why it's not just like a selfie, but a picture of your results, right? Shirt off, right? Like shirt off and getting those gains and or lack thereof. But it's a progress picture each and every single day to hold you accountable. Don't be worried about what anybody else is doing or looking at you. I promise you, they're going to watch to see if you accomplish those 75 days. So follow through with those days, but it's a challenge for a reason. It's not going to be easy. I love fitness. It's not going to be easy for me. I don't work out twice a day, but it's going to be dope. And we get to all transform our mindsets together. And there's going to be more videos about it on my own personal Instagram page. And I'll be tagging Crowned as well.
Oh, that's good, man. I'll be joining you on the 1st. And so I haven't done a challenge like this. And so I'm excited. But like I said, I'm into fitness too, but this is more like biblically and fitness kind of combining into one. So it's what's needed, bro. So,
for sure, man. And you know, people already not registered, but I've already committed to making it happen too, just outside of yourself. So I'm excited for all of us to go on this. And somebody wants to start in February, they can. It's not a January 1st thing. That's just when I'm starting.
Yeah, for sure.
So cool, man. All right, brother.
Yes, sir. I appreciate you, man.
CROWNEDCAST. Appreciate you. Looking forward to the next time, man. And we'll talk soon, brother.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Y'all stay blessed.
All right.